I pulled my car up to the steel gates of Rose Hill Academy, my prestigious private school, when I spotted a small figure huddled on the ground. A little girl, about 6 years old, was sitting on the sidewalk, red glasses foggy with tears, a pink backpack beside her. I got out of my Mercedes and approached slowly. Subscribe to the channel and leave a like to get access to more stories like this. "Why are you here alone?" I asked, crouching down to her level. She looked up with swollen blue eyes and said in a trembling voice, "I'm poor, so they won't let me in." Those words hit me like a punch to the gut. Emma Carter, I later found out, had no idea she was talking to James Harrison, the man who built that institution from the ground up. 15 years ago, I'd created Rose Hill Academy with a vision of offering excellent education. Today, at 42, I commanded an educational empire valued at $50 million. My routine was always the same: wake up at 5 a.m. in my downtown penthouse apartment, private gym for an hour, breakfast made by the housekeeper, executive meetings until late. Total financial success, complete emotional emptiness. "What's your name?" I asked, sitting on the sidewalk next to her. "Emma. Emma Carter. Mom said I could study here, but the man inside said we don't have enough money." She wiped her nose on the sleeve of her impeccable yet clearly used uniform. I felt something strange in my chest, a feeling I hadn't experienced in years. Anger. Not at her, but at the system I'd created myself. "We're going to fix this right now." We walked together through the marble halls I knew like the back of my hand. Emma looked at everything with admiration, her small steps echoing in the environment I'd designed to impress. We found the principal, Mr. Mitchell, in the main office. "Mr. Harrison, what a surprise to see you here today," he said, clearly nervous. "Mitchell, I need to understand why this child was prevented from attending classes." "Well, sir, it's a matter of financial policy. The guardians are 3 months behind on payments. We can't make exceptions." "Exceptions?" I interrupted, feeling my temperature rise. "Mitchell, how many children have been dismissed this year for financial reasons?" He shuffled papers uncomfortably. "Approximately 27, sir, but we strictly follow established protocols." I looked at Emma, who was quiet, taking in every word. Her presence there made me question everything I'd built. "As of today, I want you to create an emergency scholarship fund. Initial allocation, $200,000. Emma Carter will be the first beneficiary." "Sir, this could set precedents." "So be it." My voice came out firmer than I intended. "And I want to meet her mother. Arrange a meeting." 2 hours later, Sarah Carter walked into my office. Early 30s, brown hair tied in a simple ponytail, clean but worn clothes. She carried a dignity my money could never buy. "Mr. Harrison, I don't know how to thank you," she said, her voice controlled despite the visible emotion. "You don't need to thank me. You need to tell me your story." Sarah sat in the leather chair and began to speak. A widow for 2 years, she worked as a cleaner at the municipal hospital during the night and as a cashier at a diner during the day. Emma stayed with an elderly neighbor when she had to work. Before getting married, Sarah dreamed of being a teacher, but she dropped out of college to raise her daughter. "I always told Emma that education is the only thing no one can take away from you," she explained. "I saved for months to pay the tuition here. I wanted to give her the opportunities I never had." As she spoke, I realized something I hadn't felt in a long time: genuine admiration. This woman worked 16 hours a day without complaining, raised a daughter alone, and still dreamed of a better future. I had everything money could buy, but not an ounce of her inner strength. "Emma can start classes tomorrow," I said. "And Sarah, I'd like to offer you a job. We need someone to work in the school library. Part-time, salary that allows you to go back to school." She looked at me with an expression that mixed surprise, gratitude, and something else I couldn't quite identify. "Why are you doing this for us?" The question caught me off guard. Why indeed? Because sometimes we need a reminder of what really matters. The following weeks brought a subtle but profound change to my routine. Sarah started working in the school library, and I found myself going down from the 10th floor of the administrative building just to see her organizing books or helping students with research. She had a natural way with children, a patience I never managed to develop in business. Emma quickly adapted to classes. Her teachers reported that she was curious, asked intelligent questions, and was catching up on lost time at an impressive speed. Whenever I passed through the corridors, she waved enthusiastically, as if we were old friends. One Saturday, I decided to do something I hadn't done in years, have a day with no professional commitments. I called Sarah. "I'd like to take you two to the Natural Science Museum. Emma mentioned she's never been there." There was a pause on the other end of the line. "James, you don't have to." "I know I don't have to. I want to." I met them at the museum entrance at 10 a.m. Sarah wore a simple blue dress that highlighted her eyes, and Emma was radiant in a dinosaur print t-shirt. For the first time in a long time, I felt anxious, but it was a good anxiety, full of expectation. "Did you know dinosaurs lived millions of years ago?" Emma asked, pulling my hand as we walked toward the paleontology section. "Yes, but I bet you know a lot more about them than I do." She laughed and started telling me all about Tyrannosaurus rexes, Triceratops, and Velociraptors. Sarah walked beside us, smiling at her daughter's enthusiasm. There was something magical about that moment. Three people who'd barely known each other for a month, but who seemed to fit perfectly. During lunch at the museum cafe, the conversation flowed naturally. Sarah told me about her childhood dreams, how she always wanted to teach young children, help them discover the world through books. Emma talked about her new school friends, especially a girl named Sophie who also wore glasses. "What about you, James?" Sarah asked. "What were you like as a child?" The question caught me off guard. It had been so long since anyone showed genuine interest in my personal story. I grew up in a humble family in the countryside. My dad worked in a factory, my mom sewed for people. They saved every penny to give me a decent education. "They must be proud of your success," Sarah said. "They died 10 years ago in a car accident. They never had the chance to see what I built." I felt a lump in my throat. Sometimes I wonder if they'd approve of the choices I've made. Sarah reached out and lightly touched my hand. "I'm sure they would. You're using your success to help other people now." Emma was busy drawing a dinosaur on a napkin, but I noticed she was also paying attention to our conversation. Kids pick up on more than we imagine. "Can I ask you a personal question?" I said after Emma went to the restroom. "Sure." "How do you manage to stay optimistic after everything you've been through?" Sarah thought for a moment. "It's not always easy. Some nights I cry after Emma falls asleep, wondering if I'm making the right choices, but waking up and seeing her smile reminds me it's worth fighting for a better future." When we returned from the museum, Emma fell asleep in the back seat of my car. Sarah and I talked in low voices as I drove to their apartment in a modest but well-kept neighborhood. "Thanks for today," she said when we stopped. "It's been a long time since I've seen Emma so happy." "What about you? Were you happy too?" She looked into my eyes. "Yes, very." That night, alone in my penthouse apartment, I reflected on how my life had changed in just a few weeks. Before, my weekends were filled with reports, video conferences, and empty social events with people who were only interested in my net worth. Now, I yearned for the simple moments with Sarah and Emma. On Monday, I made a decision my financial advisors would call crazy. I reduced my work hours by 30%, delegating more responsibilities to my team. I wanted to have time for things that really mattered. Sarah and I started meeting regularly after her shift at the library. We'd walk through the school gardens while Emma played on the playground, talking about books, dreams, fears, and hopes. I discovered she had a subtle sense of humor and an intelligence that went far beyond formal education. One afternoon, while watching Emma play with other children, Sarah said, "You've changed a lot since we met." "How so?" "When we first met, you seemed distant, like you were always thinking about something else. Now you seem present, genuinely interested in what's happening around you." She was right. For the first time in years, I wasn't constantly thinking about the next deal, the next acquisition, the quarterly numbers. I was living in the moment. "Emma asked if you're going to be at her end-of-year presentation," Sarah said. "Of course I will. I wouldn't miss it for anything." She was really happy. "I think she sees you as—" Sarah hesitated. "As what?" "As a father figure." The revelation hit me deeply. I never thought about having children, always assuming my professional life wouldn't leave room for family. But Emma had found a little spot in my heart I didn't even know existed. The following week, During one of our outings, I took Sarah and Emma to see a piece of land I'd bought years ago, by a lake on the outskirts of the city. Originally, I planned to build a summer house there, but the project never took off. "It's beautiful," Sarah said, contemplating the lake view at sunset. "I always thought about building a house here, a place to relax, away from the city hustle." Emma ran to the lakeshore, fascinated by the ducks swimming peacefully. "Can I feed the ducks?" she shouted. "Of course, but don't get too close to the water," Sarah replied. We stood in silence for a few moments, watching Emma discover this little natural paradise. Then, without planning it, the words came out of my mouth. "I'd like to build this house for the two of you." Sarah looked at me with surprise. "James, what are you saying?" "I'm saying I want to be part of your lives, for real, not as a benefactor or an occasional friend. I want to wake up every morning knowing you two are safe and happy." She was quiet for so long that I started to fear I'd said something wrong. Finally, she spoke. "Are you sure? This would mean a complete change in your life." "Sarah, my life has already completely changed. The difference is that now it has purpose." Emma ran back to us, her cheeks flushed by the cool lake breeze. "This place is magical. Can we always come back?" Sarah looked at me and smiled. "I think so, sweetheart. I think we can always come back." In that moment, there by the lake, with the sun setting behind the mountains, and Emma laughing between us, I knew I'd found something no amount of money could buy: a real family. 6 months later, Rose Hill Academy was unrecognizable. Not physically. The same marble corridors and well-kept gardens remained untouched. But the atmosphere had changed. Children from different socioeconomic backgrounds ran through the courtyards. The scholarship program I'd created had expanded to benefit 50 families, and for the first time since the school's founding, I felt genuine pride in what we'd built. Sarah was radiant on our engagement party day. We chose to hold the celebration in the school's main auditorium, the same place where Emma had given her first presentation 3 months ago. She had sung a song about friendship with a sweet, clear voice, and when she finished, she looked for me in the audience. The smile we exchanged in that moment sealed something definitive between us. "I can't believe we're going to live in the lake house," Emma said for the 10th time that morning, twirling in the pink dress Sarah had sewn especially for the occasion. The house construction was almost complete. Unlike my minimalist penthouse downtown, this house was designed for a family. Large rooms with lake views, a library where Sarah could study, an office where I'd only work a few hours a day, and a special room for Emma, painted lavender with shelves for all the books she collected. Guests started arriving at 5 p.m. School teachers, some colleagues, Sarah's neighbors, and to my surprise, several families benefiting from the scholarship program. I never imagined my social circle would become so diverse and, at the same time, so genuine. "Mr. Harrison," a small voice called me. It was Marcus, an 8-year-old boy who had joined the school through the scholarship program 2 months ago. "My mom said you're the one who helped me study here." I knelt down to his height. "Actually, Marcus, you helped yourself. Your grades are excellent. Thank you anyway. My dad said people like you are rare. People like me." 6 months ago, I was known as a ruthless businessman who turned education into profit. Now, apparently, I was seen as someone who made a difference in others' lives. The transformation surprised me as much as it surprised those who knew me. Sarah approached, interrupting my conversation with Marcus. She wore a simple navy blue dress, but she was more beautiful than any woman I'd ever seen at gala events. "How are you feeling?" she asked, adjusting my tie. "Nervous," I admitted, "but it's a good kind of nervous." Emma came running, followed by Sophie and other classmates. "James, can I show my friends where my new room will be?" "Sure, but first let's do the ceremony." The local church pastor, a simple man Sarah had known for years, conducted a brief but meaningful ceremony. When it came time for vows, I looked into Sarah's eyes and spoke from the heart. "Sarah, you taught me that success isn't measured in bank account numbers, but in the ability to make other people happy. You and Emma gave me a purpose I didn't even know I was looking for. I promise to be the husband and father you deserve." Sarah wiped away tears before responding. "James, you transformed our lives in ways we can't even express. But more than that, you transformed yourself too. I promise to walk beside you on this new journey, building a family based on true love." Emma ran to us the moment we kissed, wrapping her arms around our legs in a tight hug. "Now we're a real family," she shouted, causing laughter and applause from the guests. The party continued late into the night. Sarah had gone back to studying pedagogy through an evening program at the local university, and several teachers present spoke about how she would be an exceptional educator. I had drastically reduced my participation in the company's daily operations, focusing only on the most important strategic decisions. For the first time, work was just work, not my entire identity. "Mitchell," I called the school principal, who was talking to some new teachers. "How's the scholarship program going?" "Better than we expected, Mr. Harrison. We have a waiting list of 100 interested families. And the most interesting thing, our overall academic scores have improved since we started accepting students from more diverse backgrounds." "Why do you think that happened?" "Kids who fought to be here tend to value opportunities more. They inspire other students to work harder too." It was exactly what I hoped to hear. Rose Hill Academy wasn't just helping needy children. It was becoming a better school for everyone. 3 months later, we officially moved into the lake house. The first morning was magical. I woke up to the sound of Emma laughing in the garden and the aroma of coffee Sarah was making in the kitchen. From the bedroom window, I saw the lake mirroring the first lights of day, ducks gliding gently across the water's surface. "Good morning, husband," Sarah said, entering the room with a cup of coffee. "Good morning, wife." It was still strange to use those words, but a good kind of strange, full of novelty and promise. Emma appeared at the bedroom door, still in her pajamas, carrying a new book she'd gotten at the wedding party. "Can I read here in your bed?" "Of course, come here." She snuggled between us, opening the book about pirate adventures. Sarah looked at me over Emma's head and smiled. In recent months, Emma had started calling me James Daddy, a nickname that melted my heart every time I heard it. "James Daddy, after breakfast, can we feed the ducks?" "We can do anything you want, Princess." Sarah had graduated from her pedagogy course the previous week with honors. I was in the audience when her name was called, proud as if it were my own achievement. She would start working as a full-time teacher at Rose Hill Academy next semester, finally fulfilling her dream of teaching young children. "Are you adapting well to lake life?" I asked, running my fingers through Sarah's hair. "Better than I imagined. Sometimes I wake up and can't believe this is real." "I know exactly how you feel. My previous life seemed to belong to someone else." The penthouse apartment was rented out, my work schedule had been reduced to 3 days a week, and for the first time in decades I had time for simple things, reading a book, walking in the morning, playing board games with Emma on rainy afternoons. "James," Emma said, interrupting her reading. "Yes? Are you happy living with us?" The question surprised me with its simplicity and depth. "I'm happier than I've ever been in my whole life, Emma." "Me too. And Mom too, I can tell." Sarah chuckled softly. "It's true. We're a very happy family." In that moment, lying in bed with my new wife and daughter, looking at the lake through the window, I understood something fundamental about true wealth. For years, I accumulated money thinking it would bring me satisfaction. I built a company, bought properties, invested in stocks, always chasing the next million. But the real wealth was right there. In the laughter of a child who accepted me as a father, in the love of a woman who saw me beyond bank numbers, in the peace of waking up every day knowing my life had true purpose. Emma resumed reading aloud, her child's voice bringing the pirate adventures to life. Sarah snuggled into my shoulder, and I closed my eyes, soaking in that moment of simple perfection. Subscribe to the channel and leave a like to get access to more stories like this. Outside, the ducks began their morning ritual on the lake, and I knew I'd found my treasure. Not buried on some distant island, but right there, in the unconditional love of a family who chose me as much as I chose them. The journey of James Harrison, the lonely CEO, had ended. The adventure of James Harrison, husband and father, was just beginning.